Ireland, baby, we did it. Yeah. Welcome along to Obviously Fight Talk episode 41. We're older than me now at this stage, and I won't be catching it up. But I'm joined, as always, by #WinDecision, Mr. Robert Palin.
Hello.
Missing in action this week, we have big, crazy Daddy Carl Dirty Doran. It's the longest name.
It's getting longer and longer.
Carl's not with us this week. He will be back, though, as normal. And Daniel Mulvaheady, of course, he's building something or breaking something down or at some sort of gathering. So you're just going to have to listen to the intimate recordings of myself and Mr. Robert Palin. So we are brought to you in the beautiful Whiskey Fair. If you want some great food and a great pint, check it out in Dunleary, not to be missed. And then, as always, in association with MMAmix.com for all your MMA needs. They're obviously good.
Because it would obviously Fight Talk.
Beautiful. And then, what's the other one called?
What's the other one called?
Fight Star Ireland for all your fighter needs. Check them out. Everything the fighter's choice and everything that a fighter needs under one roof. So let's get it on. This week we're going a little different. We're not going to do. There's so much happened this week, Rob, that we're not going to do it. Quick fire news topics. So much. I think we have about 14 or 15 things that we're going to speak about. So we might spend 5 minutes on one thing. We might spend 15 minutes on the other. So strap yourself in, put the seatbelt on, and get ready. So we're going to call it quick fire news, as we always do, but we're not. It's just on the side head, and I'm like Ron Burgundy. I say what I read. So some Bamatar announcements this week, as fight announcements are coming thick and fast. The standout fight announcement must be Rhys Skeletor McKee getting a shot at the vacant Lonsdale Bama title. He takes on Jay Herbert for the strap. So this is Rhys has been on with us a good few times now, and we all sort of chat to Rhys when we're at the shows and stuff, and we like the guy as well, but he's 4-0. He's already putting his hashtag up of 5-0. I think this is the right time, isn't it, from Bama? And it's a good stage as well. As much as it's the 3 Arena again, the fact that it's Bellator as well, that has to be a huge opportunity for Rhys as well.
I only noticed that you wrote Bamator.
Yeah.
I only noticed that you were sitting here with that in front of you. Like we spoke to Rhys how many times on the show? I think 3 or 4 times. You know Rhys quite well from doing the shows. But every time you speak to him, he's a nice guy, but he also knows how to talk. He knows how to promote a fight. Like after his last win, straight away he was calling a shot. He's telling you what he wanted, either a title shot, a UFC shot. He wants something big. And based on what he's done in the cage so far, you can't really disagree with him getting the title shot, really. No.
Like everything he's done in Bama has been highlight reel.
Yeah.
His one fight outside of Bama was also a highlight reel. It was a finish in the second round. Do you know what I mean? He's like a kid who was never being fed eating his dinner. He finishes it every fucking time. There's no messing. We lasted how long without a course? We tried to go this week without a course. So he does everything spectacular. Like when you meet Rhys, he's such a soft-spoken guy, and he's a nice guy, and you would not think he's the killer he is. No. But he's the perfect example of that switch. He's so dedicated to the sport. And I'm just delighted for him. It's a great chance. Like he's getting a shot at the vacated belt by Mark Diaz. He's obviously over in the UFC now. So again, you know, it's a good path to get on and follow. I have to be honest, Jay Herbert, I don't know much about him. I haven't seen a lot of his fights, so I'm going to have to do a little bit more review, get me Robin Black on, and sit in and watch a few of his fights. There was other fight announcements as well. You've got Richard Kiley taking on Keith the Butcher McCabe. Keith has been very active lately as well. You've Kiefer Crosby. Was scheduled to fight in the last BAM, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, He got injured, so hopefully he stays fit for this one.
Big time, He's taking on Conor Reardon. And then this is a nice fight as well. Andy Lofthouse taking on Primal or SBG Charlestown, whatever way you want to say it. Ian Cleary, great fighter there in Ian. I like Ian as well. It was very big on the amateur scene here.
Do you reckon that BAM are taking care of all the local stuff? You'd assume so, wouldn't you? Based on the experience that they have with the local fighters. I think that's probably the route they're taking. You'd have Bellator probably working on some of the bigger fights with their fighters and getting that in order, and then Bama really know the...
Yeah, well, I think what's happening, I think the idea with the show is obviously it's almost going to be 2 shows. As much as we're all calling it Bamator, it seems by the fighting, and I don't think it was officially announced that way, but as far as I'm concerned, it's like a Bama card and then Bellator's on after it.
They might structure the way they have the Bellator kickboxing and Bellator MMA shows. The way they have 2 kind of separate events.
I wonder what the cage is going to be.
Yeah.
Because Bellator is a round cage, isn't it?
Round cage, yeah.
So I wonder is it going to be the Bama cage?
I never thought about that,
what do they call it? Do they call it a ring cage or what do they call it?
I think they call it cage.
Cage, yeah. So yeah, that's... Interesting. Yeah, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Like us who don't fight make a bigger deal out of these things than fighters. Like, did you think the round cage will affect you? Whatever. I just want to fight. I stop myself. So like what you were saying there about the local fighters, I do think that's Bama again being clever. Do you know what I mean? They're going to give I go on about it a lot here. The array of young talent in this country, and that's what Bama are doing. They're giving, like, you look Reese now fighting for the title. There's no reason why the likes of your Kiefer Crosby or your Ian Cleary, or obviously their opponents Conor Reardon or Andy Lofthouse, why they couldn't be in 2 or 3 fights be fighting for the Bama strap. Do you know what I mean? And you see it now. It's same with Cage Warriors. Like Cage Warriors, you look at the amount of European fighters, and they're coming from Cage Warriors or Bama. So to get on this card for the local Dublin lads or Irish lads is huge, and it's the right path to the big time.
One thing I wonder is the way Bama do it. It seems like they have 18 to 20 fights per card.
Yeah.
Bellator don't really do that. They keep to around 13, 12, similar to the UFC. So I wonder if they're going to go that route, or because it's a combination of both, they're kind of going to have to be forced to do a few more fights.
I'd say, and again, no disrespect to anyone fighting on Bama, but it's because it's not Bama's huge. But again, Bellator, let's be honest, it's a more known name than Bama at the moment. But two of them together, I'd imagine Bellator is going to be... The Bellator would be like the pay-per-view, if you like, on a card. When you're watching the UFC, it's the main card.
I think
while
so too,
Bama would be the prelims, if you like.
In a way, yeah.
Again, and that's not... obviously, Bama are putting together a fantastic card. But the likes of... like Eve King Mo fighting, you'll have James Gallagher is fighting. Yeah. So like they'll be the main events of it. Even though Bama's main event is phenomenal, Tom Duquesnoy and Alan Philpott to unify the belts, that's amazing fight. Like, you know what I mean? That's something I'm interested in. It's a crazy fight. It's a huge opportunity for Alan Philpott fighting who I consider probably the best fighter outside the UFC.
Like, when you think about it, it's a huge opportunity because this is a big time show. People who haven't seen, like, there's a lot of people in the US now who will know Duquesnoy. They might not have seen him enough, an awful lot, but they
especially
know him.
now that he's out of Greg Jackson's.
And there's people talking about him. Like, there was talk of him going to the UFC last year. So it's a huge opportunity for Duquesnoy as well, to be fair, because he hasn't really got that stage yet.
But he spoke about it as well, that he's fighting Philpott, and he knows it's going to be difficult fighting Philpott in Ireland. You know what I mean? He knows he's going to have to turn up and do the job. Like, if you look at him when he fought Loughnane that time, like, there was a great Manchester presence in the crowd for that fight as well. And he barely got over the line, and that I questionably thought Loughnane won that fight.
It was a very close fight,
I was screaming for 5 rounds.
I still don't understand it. I'm assuming that's going to be changed with Bellator. It'd have to be.
I would imagine Bellator's main event.
Bellator will push for
I'd imagine Bellator will still go under. I wonder they're like the UFC when they fight outside of the States, and
they regulate themselves, but they still go under the same rule set.
I'd imagine so. Bad announcement was that Paul Redmond had to pull out of his fight.
He's had some seriously bad luck.
So that was a huge opportunity again for Paul. He's signed exclusively, if you like, he did sign a multi-fight deal with Bama, but Bama were allowing him to fight on the Bellator ops side of things, and that would have been like, you speak to Reza or you read articles about Reza, and like he didn't feel, like, when I was interviewing him after his win in the 3 Arena, he felt he didn't get a raw deal. You know what I mean? I liked his attitude towards it,
100%.
but like, when this was a big opportunity and injury strikes, and it's cat, because you'd love to see. But Reza is like, he's only young. He'll fight his way back up there, and what's that expression? What's meant to be won't pass you by, or something like that. So his time will come again. Getting a bit hippyish there now. But again, it was confirmed as well that James Gallagher is taking on Anthony Davis on that Bellator end of the card that night. So it's certainly a night we're all looking forward to. Hopefully we'll be there. Obviously Fight Talk will be there. But yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot more fight announcements as well. Reece McKee did sign a exclusive multi-fight deal with BAM as well, so he's nailed down with BAM. I believe a few more, like Brian Moore, signed a multi-fight deal as well. Moving on to our next piece was Cage Legacy took place on Friday evening in the packed out TLT Theatre in Drogheda, and it did not disappoint. The main event was an instant classic and an absolute war. Peter Queally took the judge's decision after 3 hard-fought rounds against Decky Dalton. So I watched it back on YouTube. I heard a lot of people talking about it. Some people thought it could have been stopped in the second round. So you know when you start to know that and you're going in to watch it.
Yeah, I think that does affect you when you go in to watch it. I haven't watched the fight yet. I'll put my hands up and say I haven't, but I have heard it was a close fight.
Peter came out first round. Peter Queally the round, got in, landed some good solid leg kicks, worked his way, got it to the ground, got Decky's back. Decky was defending the majority of the first round, defending his neck. Queally was constantly working for it. Good defence by Dalton, but it was a dominant first round by Peter Queally. The second round started off, they had a nice exchange with one another, and Queally went for the takedown, and Decky Dalton sort of reversed it and got into a sort of side. It was sort of in half side control, if you know what I mean. He was still stuck in half guard a little bit, but stayed in that position and landed some big shots. Queally, you could see Andy Ryan, who was the referee, sort of said, you know, you're going to have to better position. And as soon as Andy Ryan said that, you'd seen Queally move, and he did. In fairness, I think I've seen fights get stopped. I think that's the best way of saying this. I have seen fights get stopped in that position at amateur level. At professional level, I think they're given a little more allowance because they know they can be waiting, and you could see it. There was a time where Decky, he was raining down and he landed maybe 5 shots. Now, Queally was sort of turtled and he was protecting.
Yeah.
And when it was almost like he was timing Decky's shots, and as soon as he drew back to hit another one, Queally exploded to change positions. You know what I mean? So for me, watching it, he'd done enough for it not to be stopped.
What about 10-8?
See, this new rule set is like, the first round you could argue 10-8 because he was dominant, but you could also say, well, Decky defended brilliantly on the ground, but he was dominated on the ground.
It's not really a science though. Like,
no, it's, do you know what? Like, I 10-9 for me. Possible 10-8. You could argue them.
Yeah.
You could argue them.
Wouldn't be scandalous, like if they went 10-8.
But I have to give credit to Decky. After the first round, he came out and put on a super display in the second round, and then that credit I just gave to Decky goes straight back to Peter Queally, because Peter took some heavy punishment in that second round. Had a bad cut under the eye, under the left eye, I think it was. But like I said, every time Andy Ryan instructed him to move, he moved. And then they came out third round, and they exchanged a little, and it got to the ground, and Queally grounded out. So for me, some people said, they thought Decky won. For me, I think it was the right decision. Great fight. I'd watch it again. Like, it was a really good fight. But hopefully Decky stays active. I love watching Decky Dalton fight. I love his style, but also I love that harrowing chant from the crowd. Decky's gonna get you. It's deadly. But it was a great performance by both fighters, and by all accounts, I'm going to watch back the majority of the card. But a great show in Cage Legacy.
Good luck for Decky as well, because for everybody I talked to, that it was close. It could have went either way. So it's a good look, like, against a guy who was, you know, looked at getting the shot next.
He was a couple of visa issues away from the UFC. So it was a good fight. Now, I know no fighter likes hearing a good fight when they've lost, but you know, Decky, I certainly hope he stays active and keeps fighting MMA, because like I said, I really like his style as well. Just with Cage Legacy, they have announced Cage Legacy 2, and that will take place on March the 18th of 2017. So again, this looks like, by all accounts, I've seen John Kavanagh and Andy Ryan and Dino Wade all speaking very highly of the show, just on social media, obviously, and you know, the whole safe MMA side of things, the IMA there, everything went great. So it was a great night. Congratulations! I think that was the first south of Ireland in a cage professional with pro MMA. If I'm right, pro MMA. I know the CRC that had amateur MMA fights. So I think that was the first one. I could be wrong.
I think you might be. What? No,
I think I'm right.
South. Pro.
South.
Bama.
Yeah, never mind. Well, regional show.
Regional show.
Yeah, we'll edit that.
I think.
So great to see it, and another good promotion on the horizon for fighters to get the opportunity to fight here, both in Ireland. So great stuff. UFC 205 apparently has broke the Madison Square Garden gate record previously held by Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis back in 1999. For you young pups who can remember that fight, but this was according to President of the UFC Dana White. If this is true, it also means it's broke its own record, as in the UFC's own record that was held previously by Georges St-Pierre and Jake Shields. So, yeah, you can see it though. They're selling weigh-in tickets on Done Deal.
Yeah, I think the
weigh-in tickets.
Yeah, that's mad. That's another feather in the cap for Conor, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, to be fair to everybody else in the card, it's an amazing card, but the way MMA works, or the way even any kind of combat sport works, whoever's in the main event's going to get that credit.
Yeah.
So Conor will get that credit, and he does deserve a lot of it, but I think they put up just such an amazing card that it's something there for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people from work that I know who are going over. There's many people. People that
don't know MMA.
Yeah,
like
people who don't watch it
caught
very
up in
much.
the hype train. It's amazing.
Like, I know a guy, or like I know of a guy who watched the press conference and he was like, yeah, I'm going. And went, bought his tickets and went.
That's insane.
Or he's gone. So it's insane. But like the whole record beating Evan, like that was a huge fight back in the day.
Yeah. That was the two of the best at the time. They were the two best boxers probably on the planet.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And if you also look at if they're breaking their own record, which was the one GSP Shields was like 50-odd thousand.
It was in Toronto,
seats.
wasn't
Toronto,
it? Yeah.
50-odd thousand seats.
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden, how big is that? That's small.
Yeah, well,
it's less than 15,000.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine the price of the tickets for that event compared to the Toronto card, which is just crazy to think of. Like, there must be fucking a couple of grand for a decent seat.
And I'd say, like, as well, the new owners of the UFC are absolutely loving this.
Oh,
they're only in, they're sacking everybody, and there's a huge show coming up. So, like, it doesn't. You mentioned with Conor. I read an article there, something like in the last year, 25% of pay-per-views have been accredited to Conor McGregor, which is like insane.
I think he's the only man to like break a million, like three events on a million pay-per-view in a year, something like that.
Phenomenal.
It's ridiculous.
Do you know what it is? I remember. You probably don't remember Howard Stern. Do you know Howard Stern?
Yeah.
As in
the
radio jock. Yeah, but back when he was on the radio show.
Going.
Yeah, I know. But don't tell you. I don't know. You're young.
Not that young.
There was a thing done about him years ago, and it was like the radio station wanted it. It was actually in his movie. I remember that. What was the movie called? Oh, great movie.
Private Parts,
yeah. But there was but this was a legit story. They were like, how many people listen? Well, the people who like listening listen to the show for an average of like 11 minutes or something. And they go, wow, that's incredible. And they go, yeah, what about the people who don't like? And they go, yeah, this is where it gets weird. People who don't like listening to him listen for 14 minutes on average. And like,
mad,
and what's the reason? And they're like, just to hear what he says next. And that was the reason for both of them, like why you like him and why you dislike him. And that's what happens with Conor McGregor. People love Conor McGregor, but there's people who hate Conor McGregor and they want to see him get knocked out. So they're tuning in. So this is what Conor has marketed more than any other fighter.
Yeah.
Like,
the most important thing about being somebody who's selling tickets for anything is to be known. It's not to be liked, it's to be known. If you're liked or hated, that's a good thing. If people react to it, that's a good thing.
It's like a football analogy. I'll go John Anik. A football analogy. It's
American
like
footballer.
No.
Then you're going
soccer.
You always do fucking football now.
But it's like Patrice Evra playing for Man United. Anyone who wasn't associated with Man United hated Patrice Evra. Like Luis Suarez, the buck-toothed, chomping vampire bastard, right? When he played for Liverpool, you hated him. And Liverpool fans loved him. But that's because he played for Liverpool. If he played for United, you'd love him.
Yeah.
So it's like that with McGregor.
Yeah.
Most people in Ireland absolutely love Conor McGregor.
Most.
Excluding Wendy. But then, that's because he's theirs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, there's people who absolutely can't stand the man. And they tune in to watch him get knocked out.
Yeah. Which is a good thing.
Yeah. So
for him anyway.
He's cornered the mark on both sides.
But then you do have to give credit to the card that the UFC have put up. It's probably the best card they've ever done. I think a good list, we haven't done a list in a while, but a good list would be like top 5 best cards.
Yeah.
Potentially number 1 or number 2. depending on how it actually turns out.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? As in, 205 looks incredible, and everyone's moaning about 206. We'll get to a fight announced later on that, but everyone's giving out about 206. Oh, it's a shit card.
Yeah,
but like they have all their aces in 205.
Yeah, like for me, I always had this argument with people. Like Carl used to say, "Oh, well, it'd be better if they spread out the cards. You know, you'd have it like a decent card, decent card." And I think he's more on my kind of outlook now, where I prefer them have a fucking amazing card, like have a 205, amazing, just throw all their eggs in that, and then have one or two cards that aren't so great. I'll still watch them, you know, but you'd have like it's an event. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like imagine if they split that card up. Even if you split 205 up, it's still an amazing card. But you know what I mean? If they took some of them fights off, stuck them on a different card, and you kind of had a fractured, you had two good cards. I prefer the big event, and then I can deal with a kind of a mediocre card here.
Well, if you look, like if you think about it, right, since 200 and 200 was billed as, oh my god, this is going to be amazing, and then 200 unfortunately just didn't live up to it.
And also had some problems.
Yeah,
fights fell off. Yeah,
fights fell off. People were pissing hot, shit like that. But people are doing a shitload of cocaine. But
we'll talk a bit about that later.
And then you had 202, which was unbelievable. And now you have 205. So in the space of them 5 cards, you're having absolute Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So within the space of what? How many months? When was 202 or 200?
200.
So it was this year anyway. So in the space of 6 months.
No, September.
In the space of less than 6 months, we're having basically 3 Super Bowls. Like we can't, you know.
It was July, wasn't it?
Like back in the day. Right?
Yeah.
You used to get a videotape from a market every other month of a UFC event. Do you know what I mean? Now you turn on and like, never mind just UFC. There's Bellator cards, there's World Fight Series cards, there's, do you know what I mean? There's Ryzen, there's and then you have local shows. You have your Bahamas, you have your Cage Warriors, you have your Clan Wars. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, ACB. So there's so much MMA out there. So it's a bit of a hipster thing, isn't it? Like, oh, it was so much better years ago when there was only a card every month because all your big stars, your Chuck Liddells and all would always be fighting.
You'd have like an event every 6 months, every 4 months. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have many pay-per-views. It's a different time now. Like you can even see it. We'll talk a bit about it later, like with Frank Mir wanting to have his contract. So it's a different time. Like the UFC is still the biggest by far, but there's so many shows out there that you can get paid. Fighters can get paid at different shows, and there's so many big cards happening. Like the Bellator card's going to be huge.
My little conspiracy theory here is, see the way the UFC, all the cuts and all that, and they're saying they're not going to be doing as many shows outside of the States and stuff. I think they might be reformatting a little to the old way. I think the roster will slowly but surely get cut.
I think so
back
too,
a bit.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's. I think it's more of an expense thing rather than we wanted the events to feel big. I think it is though that they're looking at expansion, but they're not looking at as much as the previous owners were. They were like aggressively expanding into Europe.
Well, they wanted to take over the world.
And I think they're going to focus on certain markets. They probably, you know, sign a lot of fighters from certain parts of Europe and focus on that market. Whereas, to be fair, the UFC done a really good job expanding everywhere, but they kind of stretched themselves a little team. Like you look at some of you look at some of the European.
But like, look at
shows.
like I know why you got Honey Dick totally with it, like, but like CM Punk, like that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. Like to get into the UFC 10 years ago, you literally had to be the best of the best. It was like Bloodsport. You had to get an invitation. Do you know what I mean? You had to be one of the top guys.
Depending on what year you're talking about, though.
But there's a lot of fighters now in the UFC that wouldn't be UFC caliber.
No.
Like all this looking for a fight and all that. Yeah. It's great to get.
They're like 2-0.
It's a great, it's a great show. It's great to get that. But who was it? Was it Carl said this, or was it somebody? I can't remember who said it. It might have been Carl. They shouldn't have got rid of WEC. They should have held it.
Yeah.
And sort of had that as in like, not the B League, that's the wrong word, but you know what I mean, the qualifying promotion, if you know what I mean, like
kind of like what they're doing with Invicta. I don't think they hold a stake in Invicta, but I know that Invicta's on Fight Pass. I think they help run the show and stuff like that. So they have a lot of girls who fight there, but then once they want them in the UFC, they have a good relationship where you can bring them up, similar to what they did have with the WEC. But eventually, like the WEC, people don't remember, they just think, oh, it was the smaller weight classes. WC had every weight class at one point. Just eventually, they're like, okay, we don't have enough heavyweights. They dissolved that division. Then the middleweights, and then it went all the way down.
But that's what, like, I honestly think, like, I know it sounds silly, but you know when you start the UFC game, you start in, like, a league.
I think it was RFA.
Yeah,
RFA, like a while.
So you can, like, I don't see there being... Like, I think it'd be different. I suppose people might look down and go, oh, you're only in the B League or whatever. But, like, yeah, WEC, you fight in WEC, and then if you have a good career then and you get a couple of wins, then you get promoted up to the UFC. I don't see that as a bad thing.
Yeah, like, it's a weird one, but, like, imagine if they'd done something like Fight Pass. Not only do they have their Fight Pass shows, they don't do that many right now, but I think in the future, that's going to be a big thing. They're going to do loads of shows on Fight Pass. If they had, like, it was a UFC branded show, but they maybe called it something else, like the way they have like UFC Fight Night. Yeah, they actually call it like UFC Fight Pass, and they work it as like a separate promotion, and then they have fights there, and then eventually you can move up to the bigger.
Yeah, and I think
like
I do think you could be onto something there, especially now that the rumour of Tough is getting tucked away for a while.
Yeah.
That could be something they could look at. You know what I mean? To sort of have like weekly, like the roster they could nearly do like a weekly Fight Pass show.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And sort of have that as the young talent.
Yeah.
Call it Fight Pass talent or something. Do you know what I mean?
Something
like that, and bring it up. Speaking of holding back talent, though, France upholds its MMA ban. I don't know what it is with France and MMA.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's like I've met a good few French fighters who are coming over here to fight, and they train in France. So you know,
yeah, like
it goes on there.
Yeah, I think I'm not completely educated on it, but I know at one time, and I think it was before this, they could do MMA, but it had to be in a ring.
Yeah, and it's
similar to Australia, where they for a long time, and
yeah.
I think it's still in some Australian states they don't have the ring.
Yeah.
But now they're completely making strikes to a ground opponent illegal, which effectively bans MMA, because you can't really have MMA without that, unless you do a separate grappling, separate thing. So very unfortunate, because there actually is a lot of good French MMA fighters.
Yeah.
Tom
Tom Ducomont. Yeah, I was only sharing as well. That made me think about the French thing as well. I was only sharing the Czech Congo.
Yeah.
Come back from hell against Pat Berry that time. Yeah. So yeah, it is like, look, laws are laws. French people are French. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me. You know what I mean? They're probably too interested in drinking their bleeding whatever and their baguettes. I don't know. Like, no, look, listen, I'm only trying to act the dope there, but it is a pity when you see it, because it still makes the sport sound like it's not legit.
It's not, exactly.
Or something, you know what I mean? That a country is voting to ban it.
It's something that someone can jump on, like when there's arguments why MMA shouldn't be legal.
I guarantee you, France, who are a very civilised country, don't allow MMA.
Then what about the US? Don't mind that.
Yeah, don't mind them. Yeah, their president is Donald Trump. Just a prediction there for you.
It's fantastic.
Someone that would normally is probably going to be in the UFC Hall of Fame at one point in time. Mr. Frank Mir wants out of his UFC contract to pursue wrong, a K1 and boxing career or to have a pro boxing bout. He was saying this while I believe he was commentating on ACB, wasn't he, with Brian Lacey? Yeah. Frank Mir. So he's banned at the moment, but he's saying he's sort of held up. Like, even when he comes back, he won't get fights. He won't be active. He was saying he'd love to fight over in the likes of Russia or in Asia. It was his dream to fight over in them sort of regions. And he wanted to try his hand at K1 or boxing. So you'd wonder what Frank Mir's contract is. And if the UFC, this could be where it gets tricky for Frank Mir. I'd say he might have had the ear of the Fertitas, if you like, where they could have went, look, Frank, you've been here with us for years. Go off and pasture there away, and where you can take them things. Yeah. You know what I mean? And let him go away and compete in Russia and Asia, you know what I mean? And let him off to be a stud or pasture.
That was just kangaroo meat, no?
Was it kangaroo, or did he say something? Yeah, it was kangaroo meat, wasn't it?
In Australia.
Yeah. But, like, what age is Frank Mir? K1? Really, you think, where's he going to fight on?
Did you ever see Frank Mir as a great kickboxer?
No.
Like, he has some great knockouts, and he has decent MMA striking.
Yeah, but against a legit kickboxer.
I don't see. I think he just wants to fight outside the UFC. Like what I was saying earlier on, it's a different time in MMA now. You can make just as much or more money outside the UFC, because like Frank Mir would attract sponsors. He really would. And we're getting back to the whole Reebok thing, but you know, without kind of talking about that again for too long. But
as well, like, I think Shane Carwin will come out of retirement, so I'm a fucking Resin Rising, whatever you want to. I was shocked. He's 42 or something.
Yeah, Carwin. Yeah, he started late.
Yeah, properly. And like, again, you can see him like going over, and he's going into the open weight.
Yeah.
God bless whoever gets him round one. Imagine he got like a 170 guy. You know what I mean? They'll have to tie his arm behind his back.
Yeah, that can't be allowed.
But yeah, so you've Crow Cop is fighting Vanderlei Silva, isn't he, in there?
Yeah.
So then Carwin slots in there.
Yeah.
But you can see like Frank Mir going over to fight and Rising and fight like as well. You can see like Bigfoot Silva apparently is being offered a big fight in Russia and is getting $500,000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
there's a fight there. Like
you can see like you look at Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp is a multi-millionaire from going over and fighting these big mad fights.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets a little bit the taparoo and he's gone. So like. You can't blame them.
No, you can't blame them.
It's like footballers going and playing for LA Galaxy or New York.
Get a bit of
whatever.
sunshine, make loads of money. But like with Frank Mir, unfortunately in the UFC you can't really choose your opponents.
Yeah.
Maybe back in with Joe Silva still there and Lorenzo Fertitta, he might have been able to have a bit of input on that. But I'm not sure if at this point he's going to be able to.
But like
he's been put there.
Put your Sean Shelby. You can't say Joe Silva because he's gone, isn't he? Put your Sean Shelby hat on there. Who would you match Frank Mir with in the heavyweight division now?
That's what I'm saying. Like who's there? Like, do you really want to put him in there with an
Struve
nightmare who's going to knock him out?
I'm just trying to think. Like who's
Derek Lewis getting knocked out probably.
Roy Nelson, he's fought him.
Yeah, there's not really that many interesting fights there for Frank Mir. Whereas if he goes outside the UFC,
what I think would happen with Frank Mir is I think Frank Mir would become just the gatekeeper to the heavyweight division.
I agree.
Well,
he already is that.
Yeah, he is, but he's sort of still at. He's like, if you were playing a video game, he's the third boss you'd fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not the first boss.
Yeah.
So, like, the likes of, you can see him dropping down that run.
Big time.
Because UFC have signed a few new heavyweights, like with the likes of Mark Oppier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you could see him then fighting them, and he's going to get minced up by these younger, stronger, faster
He doesn't
kids.
want to go in there against these young guys. He wants to be able to not pick his fights, but at least have input like who he wants to fight. In the UFC, they're going to say, here's a contract for you. If you want to fight, you're signing, you're fighting this monster.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And at his age, I think all he wants to do is make some money and then retire.
I'd love to see Frank Mir get into the commentary booth with the UFC because his breakdown.
Give him a job.
Loads of people turn around and don't like Frank Mir. They just because he's comes across as a
cocky,
bit,
he's dick.
Yeah, but like if you were Frank Mir, you'd be cocky. Do you know what I mean? Like
you know,
like
you broke like 12 man's arms. Yeah,
you know, you would be cocky, but like he knows his stuff and his commentary is really, really intuitive. Like as in, you're watching it and like you could be watching it not understanding what you're watching. You could be a complete newbie to the sport.
Yeah.
And Frank Mir is brilliant because he literally say things like, well, what he's going to try to do here is he's going to move to this position, he's going to put his shin down and push that. Yeah. And he sort of says what's going to happen and then it happens.
He's
and
brilliant.
You go, oh yeah, that's great. So from somebody who might be just a casual fan or whatever, like, you know, like I'm watching MMA years and I trained a little jiu-jitsu, like whatever. But, you know, watching it, you don't know what a black belt is going to do next.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's good to have a black belt telling you what the black belt is going to do next. Yeah. So, like, but that's what I really like about Brian Stan. Brian Stan really breaks the fights down brilliantly when you're listening to Brian Stan.
It is great that we're getting to the point where we have these guys who fought. Yeah. Like, it's still a young sport. People don't realize it's still a young sport. We're getting these guys who fought and now they're starting to commentate, like Brian Stan, like
Kenny Florin, Ken Flo,
Dominic
Cruz.
Like he's still fighting, but he's just
like
once he retires, that's his job. Like just give him that job, pay him loads of money.
But as well, what it does as well is this sounds weird, like because I don't need to help the sport, but it helps the sport having fighters because you're showing these guys aren't just barbaric, bleeding, bloodthirsty lunatics. Do you know what I mean?
It's also a PR move in a way because a lot of I don't think Frank Mir will have the problem where he retires and he's going to have nothing to do. You're still giving these guys who are retiring a job, like
for sure.
You know, it's a good thing.
You can see like former guys like Chuck Liddell works for the UFC and Forrest Griffin works for the UFC. Yeah. So it's almost like again when a legend of a football club retires, they become an ambassador.
You'd also think Frank Mir would be a perfect candidate for that because he's been in the UFC for how long?
Yeah.
Like if you say,
see, I think that the whole.
It's
failed.
it's
that's going to the failed drug test is going to
it's going to affect. But,
that's going to sort of screw him around a bit.
I do agree. I think if possible, get him again. He probably still wants to fight. That's probably why. Maybe they did offer him. We're just kind of speculating here, but he's like him in the WEC was amazing. Him commentating on those fights.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's one of the better commentating teams in MMA. I thought so.
No, he really was. He
really
knows his stuff. Yeah. My son's getting a phone call on Skype. That's what's happening there.
Come through on that.
Yeah. Hold on. Edit this.
Yeah.
So moving on then from Frank Mir, outside of MMA, Ireland's favourite daughter, Katie Taylor, has announced that she's turning professional and she's signed with Eddie Hearn, is it?
That's who she.
So when I heard this, I went a little. I don't know what happened to me. I just went, when I heard this, I was surprised at Katie Taylor's age. She's 30 now.
Yeah,
I think maybe she got screwed over in the last Olympics.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, so I think that obviously you're seeing what happened with Conlon as well. Yeah. And it just looked like there was an agenda there. Obviously, there's been investigations still going on, and all the judges and the referees are all suspended and they're not allowed to do it. Yeah, so complete Dodge City. But I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back for Katie Taylor. But is it too late? Is it? Do you know what I mean? Well, 30 years of age to turn pro. Is it a good time for her? What do you think of that?
Well, I think she's be very competitive in professional boxing. She's one of the best amateur boxers out there. She won every competition. She won gold medals. So it's not like she's gone to a different sport. It's the same sport, just slightly modified.
Yeah, I think she'd do well.
I think she'd do very well.
Yeah, because she the way she strikes, the way she fights, I think with. I just think she's, that stupid amateur scoring rule that they apply. Yeah. She won't get screwed by it, and I think she'll finish a lot more fights then. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
What do you think about the talk of doing the Aviva Stadium? They said possibly Aviva.
Would it sell out?
I think it might. Yeah.
As Katie as the main event?
She's very popular, very, very popular over here. If you think about it,
yeah, no, I think they'd have to have a good card, though. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think it'd sell out the Aviva just Katie Taylor or himself. Katie Taylor's fought in the National Stadium at times and, in front of an empty stadium. Do you know what I mean?
It's promoted differently. Do you know what I mean? A professional Katie Taylor.
I'd love to see her do really well.
Yeah, it's just good for Irish sport as well.
Again, you'd love to see her win a world title or something, because everyone wanted the gold medal for her, and she done that. She achieved that, and I think she just wanted to prove that she was the best again, and that's obviously why she went to the last Olympics. Yeah. But then when she got screwed the way she did, that was fuck this shit.
Well, we started a conspiracy. Conor McGregor making an out of left field announcement after UFC 205. Katie Taylor possibly fighting the Aviva next year.
Yeah, with why not?
McGregor Promotions, Katie Taylor,
in
association with what's Eddie Hearn's fucking promotion?
I don't know.
Whatever it is.
Who cares? But well done, Katie Taylor. Let's hopefully she gets it. It'd be a good fight. Gets a good fight, and there's no reason why she couldn't be one fight away from a world title.
But that's what the plan is. They said it would be a title fight, so I'm assuming they'll try get her. Boxing, the way the model is, get her a few cans, get her knock out a couple of people, and then give her a title fight.
I thought because you were saying she's from Bray, you were going to get her a few cans. Not everybody is drinking cans and then fights, Rob. Fuck's sake. Jumping back into MMA, Dana White has said things have never been better with GSP after all the talk of free agency, back and forth, slavery, all this. Apparently GSP and Dana White have met and everything's peachy.
Yeah, GSP said that as well. They said they have sorted out whenever they had to sort out, but then they still said, there's no fight set up. So,
did you see his reply to Michael Bisping, the video?
I didn't see the video, but I heard
it's GSP, and you see a GSP reply. Yeah, he's head to toe in fucking Under Armour. He's on a racetrack, and you're going, oh, he's replying. It's the most politest reply to a call out. Well, Michael, I would really like to fight you, but unfortunately things have gone this way, and maybe we will fight again. And they're going, he's so polite. Yeah. What a lovely man he is. Yeah. He is lovely, isn't he?
He's lovely,
but he's a lovely man.
Lovely guy.
But going from that then, Michael Bisping is basically calling out everybody under the sun.
Apart from middleweights.
Yeah. But Nick Diaz is gathering serious legs and momentum as a potential return for the bigger Diaz brother to get a title shot. What's he gonna? That's skipping a big queue, isn't it? As much as much as the McGregor Alvarez lightweights are giving out about that skipping the queue. Very different. He's the featherweight champion.
I've already said that I'm not 100% on board with that. Well, I am. It's a great fight, but I'm still. I can see where Aldo's coming from. I can see where especially Holloway is coming from. But Nick Diaz, he lost his last fight. He hasn't fought in how long?
His last fight was against Anderson Silva.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To come in and get that.
And Michael Bisping hasn't fought in middleweight yet.
Yeah, well, Michael Bisping he's sort of picking, isn't he?
Dan Henderson.
Yeah, but Bisping. They're basically saying he's dodging everyone. That's what's happening there. A lot of fighters are saying Bisping is dodging people left, right, and centre.
I wouldn't say he's dodging people. I think he's trying to pick his fights, smart fights, which is a very smart thing to do. I think if any other fighter was in that position, they're not going to be able. They're not going to try.
Essentially, he's doing what Connor's doing.
Yeah, he's doing the exact same thing. He's picking what fight he thinks is the best fight for him. Why wouldn't you want to fight GSP? Why wouldn't you want to fight Nick Diaz? Like, I'd rather, like, if I was Michael Bisping right now and they said, here, you fight GSP.
The GSP fight has more legitimacy, I think.
Legitimacy, yeah, but just in terms of numbers, like, he's looking for the one that's going to, like, Michael Bisping has maybe 5 fights left in him. Really?
Yeah.
Like, really, like, he is getting up there. Like, it's, if you think about it, that's like 2 years maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he's done something that Carl doesn't consider people a champion too. He has defended his belt, so his legacy will go down that he's not a paper champion.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, he's defended his belt. He's done that. So I don't know. I just think, like, for me, the winner of Weidman, Yoel Romero is the number one contender.
I agree. Yeah.
Or Jacare. So yeah, Jacare is he's injured though at the minute, isn't he? So is Jacare, he's scheduled to fight, is he?
Oh, Jesus.
Mine's on the blank.
Yeah.
But they're the three of them are the number one contenders. Rockhold, if he comes back and wins his comeback fight, he's back in the mix. So Nick Diaz, I love Nick Diaz, by the way. I'm a big Diaz fan. But if he comes in and wins and is the champion, it's just sort of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's like,
I could also see him winning.
Oh yeah, Diaz wins that fight every day, I think.
You think so?
I think Bisping would take the Carlos Condit style
100%.
fight.
Well, that's
against
he'll do that.
Diaz.
Yeah.
He'll strike a move.
It could be a 5-round decision for Bisping, but one thing that is important though, if the number one contender is the winner of Romero and Weidman, that fight will happen like a couple of weeks before this fight will happen, if it does happen. Yeah. So, it's still lined up. The winner of that would still fight the winner of that. So it's, Bisping has to fight soon anyway. So
who would you match him against?
Bisping. I'd match him against the winner of that, or who'd you say? I can't do Rockhold. Rockhold needs to come back and get a win. The winner of that. So if you're going to give Bisping a fight in between, like, who else is there, to be fair? I don't agree with the fight.
Anderson Silva. No?
Has he won?
No, Silva's last. Yeah, he won his last fight, didn't he? He came back.
No, he lost to fucking Daniel Cormier.
Oh, Daniel Cormier, DC. But he took that in short notice.
True, but they're just...
Yeah, but again, it's activity, isn't it? This is the big thing. Like, everyone, we're even saying, you shouldn't fight him, But then you go, who should he fight? And you go,
if you need to give him a fight.
There's sort of nobody there.
GSP would be the best option.
GSP would be great.
Because he never lost his title, didn't lose, and huge star. Perfect, but, still, none of them are ideal. Like, the winner of that fight should win, or should get the title fight. The winner of the Chris Weidman fight. But, if he needs to fight in between, just give him somebody. It would be.
But again, you don't want the division. This is my only thing about it. Like, a champion, I think, should have his say and sort of say, yeah. Conor, you can argue, could do a lot of what he wants because what he's done. Yeah, he can sort of predict a lot. You could say the same for when Anderson was the champion. He fucking just defended it like for eternity. So he could pick and choose. He could have his say more so. John Jones, you could say the same. He didn't though. Well,
both of them didn't really.
Did he not? You might know he did, but you just didn't hear about it. Yeah. Just Bisping's a mouth. Do you know what I mean? So you hear everything. You know what I mean? Bisping's constantly on Twitter and Facebook and whatever, saying whatever, or any Fox. TV show. Exactly. Yeah. So he's a bit of a mouth in that sense. John Jones, I'm sure, has done that too. Chris Weidman, I'm sure, was doing it at one stage. He was, you just don't hear it.
To be fair, if
but I think you should have to fight if there's a legit guy like Max Holloway. How Max Holloway is not fighting for a title is beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they would have done the Aldo Holloway fight.
Yeah,
if
but
possible.
Aldo said he didn't want it. He said he'd rather fight Showtime Pettis. So UFC went, all right, so we'll do Holloway, Showtime Pettis. So it's just quality. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fuck you. Another rumour fight to happen in early 2017, this time on Bellator, is Matt Mitrione taking on Fedor Emelianenko. That's a good fight, isn't it? Big fight for Matt Mitrione.
Yeah, but it's also a big fight for Fedor, I think, because he hasn't really fought a legit heavyweight. Not that I don't think Matt Mitrione is a legit heavyweight, as in he's a top 5 heavyweight.
But he's legit. Stands on the weighing scales. He's a heavyweight.
No, yeah. But I mean, yeah, physically he's legit. Yeah. But I don't think he's one of the best heavyweights out there. He does have a name. And
like
Maldonado is not even
he's
barely a light heavyweight. So I think it's a big test for Fedor at this point in his career, where we've seen that he's had trouble with bigger guys.
If Matt Mitrione's really athletic, the way he moves, he's light on his feet for a heavy guy. He's light. He moves. He does get caught though. Like you seen him.
So Fedor though.
Yeah, well that's Fedor. It's like Fedor's coming to the end of his time, like, you know what I mean. And for Matt Mitrione, this is a fight that he couldn't turn down. Like this is, this is a huge,
the biggest
fight.
money fight for him outside the UFC.
100%.
Even inside the UFC.
I wonder will they fight it? It'll be in the States, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So Fedor, like he only fought under Strikeforce, and he got beat by Dana Henderson.
Got beat by
Werdum, and then he beat.
He got beat by Bigfoot.
So he doesn't have a great record, doesn't he?
No, but he beat what's his face?
Oh, I'm looking at him. That name where he knocks his head off.
Yeah. Come back to me.
He was losing that fight as well. So Fedor, the legend that he is, his mystique isn't there in the States.
It's gone. Yeah, but it's not. It's gone completely. Really, like. He's not the same guy as he used to be. He's
old.
Yeah, he's old, and that just happens.
Old,
do you know what I mean?
And like
he was retired for a long time.
In fairness, a lot of people we've talked about it before, and he's all slammy when I turn around and store the shit and saying, I always thought Fedor was overrated. He sort of, he's fought guys like again. Look at the Maldonado fight. Like that was just insane. Like Fedor did not win that fight.
I don't think so. No, it was at least a draw.
Yeah, but like he did. He has legitimate knockouts over the likes of Arlovsky and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he was getting well beaten. I
still think Fedor is probably one of the best heavyweights of all time. But like, you can't really judge him on later in his career. He's getting old. And
very true.
And if you think about it,
it's like what we're saying about Frank Mir. So it's unfair for us to say, Frank Mir can't fight these young and up and coming lions, and then
it's a new generation.
Flip it and go Fedor's crap because that's what's happening to him.
Exactly. Like at the time, sure, some of the people he fought at that time weren't great. They wouldn't compete with the heavyweights we have now. But you
can only fight everybody. You can only fight who's in the promotion.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why the biggest disappointment for me with Fedor was that he never came to the UFC. And I'm not talking about if he signed for the UFC now, hysteria would still build and be like, oh my God, it's Fedor. And I'm like, but it's not. No. If it was 10 years ago.
It's a different guy at this point.
Yeah. So, but again, big fight for Matt Mitrione, who had a bit of banter and a bit of back and forth with John Bones Jones.
Yeah, it's been a big week for him.
On the Twitter machine. Yeah. He basically put up a picture of this dude in, it looked like a coffee shop or something.
Didn't even look like him that much, to be
nothing
fair.
Like him.
Yeah.
You could almost go to racist route. It was basically a black guy with a beard.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's John Jones. So to feed his coke habit or something, he said, wasn't it? To feed his habit.
It looks like since his
suspension.
Since suspension, he needs to feed his coke habit with a cash job or something like that.
Something like that. And then like John Jones, I thought John Jones replied great, like, hey, thanks, whatever, and no need to come back. But Mitrione was going on about, I know what happened in London, I was there and all this, and there was a little bit of that, like, so it was a bit, you'd wonder, Mitrione was probably sat at home bored, or sitting on an airplane bored and just start tweeting.
Yeah, saying this guy, that kind of looks like John Jones.
Yeah, but like, I thought it was funny. Jones turned around and said something like, "You even went to the trouble of like merging two photos together, like, you know what I mean? So you went to effort to do this, like, so your life is pathetic, like, But he said, and what people
are talking about Matt Mitrione though.
Yeah, well, Matt Mitrione is notorious for this.
Yeah,
he had it with Tito Ortiz. Remember at the fighter conference, and he took his sandals off or something, didn't he? He had flip flops on. He was going to start throwing down with Tito at the summit, the fighter summit.
Yeah.
So Matt Mitrione, he does this, and he does it well. He sort of mouths off at guys, and he gets a bit of reaction, and it's good.
And I like Matt Mitrione, and he's a good fighter. As I said, I don't think he's a top fighter in the heavyweight division. I don't think he thinks he's a top fighter in the heavyweight division because, he did leave the UFC. Not that there's, anything wrong with that, but he's fighting lower level guys, but he's still relevant.
Badly hurt in his last fight, wasn't he? Bellator. He looked like he was in trouble,
dropped,
and then
he's still relevant though.
Mitrione is alright. I like Mitrione. I like his style. He comes to fight. You
also say he's they call him meathead, but he's smart.
Look at that eye poke. His eye was bulging out of his.
Nightmare.
Get a grip.
Nightmare stuff. Yeah.
Uriah Faber.
We spoke about this.
We spoke about it last week, but we didn't speak about it enough. We just sort of breezed over it. So he's hanging his gloves up after his fight with Brad Pickett at UFC on Fox 22. That goes down on the 17th of December. So Uriah Faber,
legend.
We spoke about it that he's never got the gold in the UFC, but that's because he has Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw ahead of him. So he's in an absolute tank with like complete sharks. Yeah. Uriah Faber is legit. Like you see him in his last fights and all, he's fast, he's strong, he's got everything. So it's just, I like that he's hanging the gloves up though. I have to be honest. Like he sort of knows UFC's not there, and he's going to. Let's be honest. Like alpha male, he's still going to train on every day. He's going to be running alpha male. So
I don't think you can underestimate how big of a figure in MMA Uriah Faber was though. Like when you think of the WEC, he's probably the first guy you think of, along with like
Cowboy.
But like Jose Aldo,
Benson
kind of, but like Uriah Faber in the early days of the the WEC, and even the later days, he was the man. Like, that fight with Jose Aldo, that was like the UFC actually promoted that as like a kind of not even a crossover fight. But do you remember when they promoted that fight? It was like they brought their own team over. Goldie was commentating on it. It was such a big event, and even his fight with like Jens Pulver was a big fight. He was the man. Like he was the man in the lower weight classes. I think people who have only watched MMA for the last couple of years since the likes of Conor came around don't realise how big of a figure he was. Yeah, and he was such a good fighter, and he's been doing it for so long that sure he's not the best now.
Who was it? Was it against? Was it Jose when he broke his two hands?
That was Mike Brown.
Mike Brown fight, and he's basically throwing elbows. Like his two hands are
broken, and he was throwing elbows. And then against Jose Aldo, where he was just getting tore apart on the feet with the leg kicks, and he just kept coming. One of the legitimately toughest.
Walking Dead. Spoiler alert. His leg was like Glenn's head.
I don't watch it, but I've heard
minced meat.
I don't watch it, but I've heard all the spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler. Yeah, Glenn's dead.
Hopefully,
sorry.
Yeah, hopefully people heard the spoiler. But I think you can't underestimate how important Uriah Faber was.
100%.
To the lower weight class.
We said about Frank Mir going to be a UFC Hall of Famer. 100% Uriah Hall's in there. Great character as well. Uriah Hall. Yeah. Uriah Faber. What he done, like the tough he done with Conor. I think he thought he was going to fucking hate Conor McGregor, and they ended up good pals, you know what I mean? And they were just talking shit to one another to try and sell it, and they like it. Like big time. Faber is an absolute beast of a fighter.
He's also an amazing like self promoter. Like if you think about his
alpha male though it's his just gym. Him. Like his fighters come out and they're like him. They're built like him. They're sort of smaller guys. They're known for that. The smaller guys. But what
I love about Uriah Faber, when you think about him, he's going to fight. California Love's gonna come on. He's gonna come out with the fucking hair, come out fucking dancing around. Like he's a character. Like you know who Uriah Faber is. So many guys are really good fighters, but they just can't. They're not a character. Like Conor, he's a character. Like he promotes a certain way. Uriah Faber, same thing. Doesn't promote like Conor, but he's a great self promoter. You know when he's fighting.
Yeah, and I tell you, Brad Pickett, it's a tough fight ahead. As much as it sort of makes it harder for Brad Pickett knowing the guy he's fighting is going out, because he just knows he's literally going to go out with a sword. Like you know what I mean? He always did, though. In fairness, Uriah Faber, he goes out in a sword. He gives it every time. You either got to pull him out, or he's going to keep coming. Broken hands, no legs. He's still going to come at you.
A big butt chin coming at you.
Big time. Frankie Perez is coming out of retirement to take on Mark Diaz at UFC Fight Night 102. So this is Mark. When he was on the show, he basically said, injury free. He wants to get back in there as soon as, and he has delivered on that promise. So fighting Frankie Perez, what do we think of this fight?
Good fight. Another good opportunity for Diaz. He does think he's quite close to a title fight already if he gets a couple of wins. Yeah. Again, another guy who's he's a bit of a character. Like I think he's gonna be a big star. Frankie Perez retired. I wonder if they offered him the fight. That's why he came out of retirement, obviously looking for a fight. But I do like the fight. I think it's a really good fight. Could be exciting, I think.
Yeah, and I definitely like what Mark literally put to that moron on Reddit that you put up the question. Do you have any questions for Brad Pickett or Mark Diaz? He went, yeah, can you ask Brad Pickett who the fuck Mark Diaz is? And I was like, you will not be asking that question after Saturday night. And I guarantee you, this fucker in like a year will be walking around with a Reebok t-shirt with Diaz on it. But guarantee you, you little fucking troll on Reddit, you commented on Reddit, you prick.
Reddit really fucking annoys you, don't they?
Oh, they irritate the shit out of me. You know. But sure, hey. But yeah, big opportunity for DKZ. I look forward to watching him fight. I love watching him fight. He's an absolute...
Big time,
Again, another guy when you're talking to, you're like, you're not a fighter, because he's just a nice, happy guy, always smiling. And then he gets in there and just the switch goes. And you know, do you ever watch any of his training videos, Ranton, that he puts up? He's just fucking works. The journey he does to train, like he gets up and goes. He gets up like a half hour or something to go to his boxing coach. His boxing coach does a 9-to-5 job, so he goes and trains with his boxing coach early before his boxing coach's job. Then drives back to his home, so it's like an hour and a half drive. Has a sleep for an hour, and then goes MMA train. Drives another hour to go in. Like he's an absolute grinder. He's I honestly think he's going to be a very bright star in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of two bright stars, Anthony Pettis taking on Max. Yeah, the obviously fight talk effect. That's what happens. Come on the show. We'll get you up there. Anthony Pettis takes on Max Holloway at UFC 206. This is one where you get the meme of Randy from South Park sitting at the computer out. This is phenomenal. Now, I do think momentum is a big fucking thing. Pettis got the win in his last bout, but Max Holloway has not dropped. I don't even think he's dropped a round since he got beaten by Conor McGregor.
Yeah. I'm going to call it now. Max Holloway embarrasses Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, they like what he done to Cub Swanson.
I think so. I think Pettis is still a really good fighter. I think this move to featherweight is a really good move for Pettis. I think the first fight, we can't judge him too much. He looked good, but we can't judge him too much. First time cutting the weight. Not that he's a huge lightweight, but first time cutting the weight, I'm sure was different. He's been so long there. But I think Max Holloway's movement is just going to be an absolute nightmare for Anthony Pettis. Nightmare.
Max Holloway, first time I laid eyes on Max Holloway in the UFC and watching him fight, I thought this kid's going to be phenomenal. When Conor got matched with him, I was disappointed because it was like, you know, the two guys you like, you know what I mean? But he's been on an absolute tear. And everyone talks about fights for Conor. I would love, as much as I said I was disappointed when they fought him there, I'd love to see Max Holloway fight Conor McGregor again. I think
I'm really disappointed.
I think it's the best fight out there, featherweight.
I'm quite disappointed that the UFC don't promote him that well.
They don't promote him at
all. They don't push him. That guy could be a fucking superstar.
He's unbelievable. Like they could, like Hawaii, so he's basically got Hawaii behind him.
Bring an event to Hawaii.
Yeah, big time.
Ariel Helwani always talks about this. He always says, do fights in places that make sense. Bringing Conor to Ireland or even to Boston because of the whole Irish route. When they brought heavyweight champ
Steve
Miocic brought him to Cleveland. Amazing show because you know
hometown guy is on the card. Can you imagine? And in Hawaii, MMA is huge. As in, it was obviously there with BJ Penn, the prodigy following BJ, and now Max has taken over that. In Hawaii, and I just think like watching him fight. He actually reminds me, the way he fights, I should say it the other way around, really. Reese McKee reminds me a lot of Max Holloway. It's that long fighter, but he doesn't when you look at Max Holloway, like I always joke, you look like you're gonna buy fireworks off him, or you buy dodgy cigarettes or something off him. You know what I mean? He looks like a complete anto. You know what I mean? All right, lads, want to buy the matches, do you? But he used to be outside Lansdowne sending you tickets for you know what I mean? But he's an absolute killer. His style of fighting, his movement, his ground game is just phenomenal as well. It's just every time Max Holloway steps into the octagon, it's an improved Max Holloway. He has never been stagnated. He's constantly evolving, constantly getting better. And I'm not going to do Anthony Pettis. I think Anthony Pettis peaked, had his moment in the sun. I'm going to get poetic. He flew, not that he flew too close to the sun, but he got there and he's burned a little. And he's ascending now. He's coming down one. Max Holloway is just on the up and up and up and up. Pettis has it. He has the ability in it. But I always find when I watch Pettis, when the fight starts going against him, he never comes back, if you know what I mean.
Who was it we were speaking to? I think it was Brad Pickett. It was Brad Pickett. And he was talking about how he picks fights. He looks at who's going to win over a 5-round decision. I think if you look at this fight, Max Holloway all day. 5-round decision. He picks Anthony Pettis.
He never tires.
Yeah, even though Anthony Pettis is one of the best strikers in the UFC, I just think that style. Anthony Pettis has never been great with his hands. He's more of a kick-based fighter, where Max Holloway is amazing with his hands. He throws kicks. You know, if you're looking at kickers, Anthony Pettis is a better kicker. But it's not going to surprise me if Anthony Pettis lands a big head kick or something and knocks Max Holloway out. It'll surprise me, as in I think Max Holloway has a granite chin, but it's there for Pettis. But what would surprise me if Pettis goes out there and picks Holloway apart? That would surprise me a whole lot.
Like I can literally see Max Holloway winning this if he doesn't get the title shot next. I think it's the longest winning streak ever.
Oh yeah,
without getting a title shot. I think Holloway's going to look and go up a weight. I think he's going to go up to lightweight. Yeah, I think so, because that's where, especially if
Conor wins.
Yeah, if Conor wins.
And Conor doesn't take time off or whatever.
Can you imagine if Conor won, Max Holloway beats Anthony Pettis, Max Holloway gets the featherweight title. Pettis, what?
Imagine,
I
was just thinking, imagine the story. Like if I was thinking about promoter-wise.
This is what I'm saying. Can you imagine if Holloway goes on, wins the featherweight title, Conor's won the lightweight title, and then it's like the sale of the rematch.
I know what I'm thinking. Like perfect for Holloway, wins that fight, and when's that fight actually?
It's 206.
So that's after 205. If Conor wins and he's like,
Carl Werdum here, 206 is after 205. Get out of here.
No, if Conor wins the title, say. He's champ and he's like, I'm staying, I'm fighting, because there is rumours that he's going to be taking hanging up the
McGregor, Holloway, Hawaii.
Perfect team for Holloway to say, and they'll make the fight straight away just because of the story.
Yeah.
On the mic after the fight, Conor's running away from
Conor McGregor, you absolutely suck.
Conor, he's running from the division. I'm coming up. I want that title.
Big time.
Perfect.
Unbelievable.
Perfect opportunity.
I'll fight you. I'll put.
Yeah, I'll put on the weight. I don't care. You're running away.
Let's do it at 140 or 150. No, let's do 150 or 155.
Oh, no, I'll
fight you in Hawaii. Be fucking sell it.
Yeah,
there you are, Max.
There you go. Yeah.
Get onto it. Max Anto Holloway.
And now they both lose, and then we won't get the
fight.
So.
Yeah. But no, that's like, for me, that's an incredible fight.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if, because Conor, when he spoke about the Aldo fight, he was saying, it doesn't make sense. I marked him in like 13 seconds.
It's a difference in this one,
He beat Max over 3 rounds. Yes, he blew his knee out.
Holloway also said he had an injury as well.
So I just think the tear that Holloway is on, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, is a phenomenal
I
fucking
think
fight.
That could be,
and have my money.
Yeah, I think, the way you have those amazing rivalries in like, say, boxing, where you had
like trilogies and
Fraser,
stuff,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that could be
potentially,
that could be one, like DC and
I'd love it more if Max Holloway gets the title shot at featherweight, wins it. It can work either way. If Conor doesn't win the lightweight, I think he'll go back to featherweight to defend his belt. If he does win it, I think he'll vacate feather. And I think Max Holloway should fight whoever for the legit title.
Aldo or whatever.
Yeah, and then McGregor, Holloway, unification.
Oh, phenomenal. Yeah, if MMA
it's
was scripted,
it's like fucking writing Rocky Balboa here.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's
unreal.
So the writers of Warrior 2, there's your line. Go with it. In other news this week, Fabricio Werdum has been removed from commentary duties following an anti-Reebok post on his Instagram, which told official sponsors of the UFC, quote, "suck his balls." So not very smart on a public social media thing to do. This is the whole Reebok thing, isn't it? He's basically saying he used to get 150 grand from sponsors, and now Reebok are paying him 5 grand.
It's ridiculous.
He's not the first fighter. He's not the second fighter. He's not the third fighter. He's not the fourth fighter. He's about the 25th fighter now, but we would have been there a while.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters, obviously, if that's the difference in money, that's insane. And it's. I said it when it happened, and we spoke about this an awful lot on the show. To be fair, the Reebok deal is an absolute sham on fighters, and fighters have been screwed over with this. It'd be like you going into your normal job, be it you're a postman, be it you're a bread man, a baker, a nurse, a doctor, whatever. It's like going in there and going, the way you used to get paid this? Yeah. Well, we're changing your uniform, and you're getting 5% of that money.
Yeah, fuck that.
You'd
shit.
be like, what?
Yeah, I don't agree. That's not my contract.
That's
I don't
not
agree.
my contract. Fuck off.
Yeah.
So this is where this whole argument comes up again. So Werdum, I can appreciate the frustration of it, but the fact that he's working, he's commentating, he's doing that, what did he think was going to come out of it by saying?
Yeah, I think the unpopular thing that I think we're both thinking is, I don't blame the UFC in a way for doing what they've done.
Well, you can't have someone who speaks on behalf of the UFC in a commentary position slaying their number one sponsor.
Now, if it's different if he come out and said, like what Werdum said, I think the quote was something like, I've been Nike all my life, Reebok suck my balls, something like that.
Yeah.
It's different if he said, I disagree with the Reebok sponsorship, and I think it could be done better, something like that. That's censorship. Then you're saying, okay, that's not allowing anybody to talk about anything. But what he said is just a bit ridiculous. He can't say that. And the UFC are perfectly within their rights to
100%.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But again, we spoke about the Reebok.
They've been completely screwed. Fighters have been completely screwed by it. But you have to, you couldn't turn around about your job, and post something.
It's just
like that about, and your boss sees it. You're going to be reprimanded.
Yeah.
So just because he's a fighter, yes, it's. You're self-employed, I suppose. You are a fighter, but you're not. You work for a company. You work for a promotion. Yeah. So you have to be seen to be green to that promotion. You can't be talking shit about his number one sponsor.
Yeah.
So, regrettable. I can appreciate his anger, but at the same time, be smart.
Exactly, be smart.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. Suck his balls. So that sort of sums up everything that happened this week, really. Like I said, we're a little different this week. We sort of broke things down. We sort of just done the quick fire headlines and just went with them and just spoke about everything. So, as usual, hit us up on the social medias. On Twitter, we're at @talk_fight for all our ramblings on the social media. You can find us there, or we're obviously Fight Talk, obviously, on Facebook, Instagram. Check us out on YouTube if you want to watch the shows and look at Rob's beauty, or if you want to hear Carl's profanity, you can check us out. We're always available on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Android, everywhere.
YouTube.
If it has stuff that you can listen on, we're on it. We'd like to thank the beautiful Whiskey Fair, as always. MMAmix.com for all your MMA news. Check them out. They're obviously good, because they're with, obviously, Fight Talk. And then what's the other ones? Fight Star Ireland for the fighter's choice for all your fighter needs in one place. Check them out. Also check out Fight Star Media. They have all the fights up from Cage Legacy as well. So check them out. Definitely check out the main event with Decky.
I'll be going there later.
Absolute quality.
View and quality.
So from us, obviously, Fight Talk. Enjoy your Halloween. Hope you bought your bangers off Max Holloway. Dublin, take it easy. Rob Sayer, good afternoons.
Good afternoons.
And we'll see you next week. And hopefully the Four Horsemen will be back. So Fedor. This means Fedor.